Okay, looks like we're streaming live. Um, Recording in progress, excellent. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday, 11th day of August, and our August meeting of the Board of Education and Finance Committee here in Norwalk. We've got myself, Colin Hostin, Suzanne Karashetz, and Diana Carpio present, along with Christian Parsmit. And tonight we're going to have what may be a brief meeting to give us a quick look at our financials as they stand today. So let's get to the agenda.
Let me know if you want me to share anything, whether the agenda or the other schedules.
Thanks, Christian. The first item up is the approval of the minutes from our June 9th meeting, which were posted online. I hope everybody got a chance to take a look at it.
If I just had a couple of comments on the minutes, because I thought, and they were lovely. I forgot how long and how much we got done at that meeting. So it was certainly, Laura captured so much of it. I just have, some of them are minor, and then one of them is really a question. On page 3, wait a minute. Page 3, it's just on one of the, it just says Mr. Korshets seconded. So it's just a name correction. And the same thing on page 7 is just a name correction. And just on the second, that motion. And then on page 4, the third paragraph, the last sentence, there's just a couple of changes. He said there will be some work done, including paint, carpet, and ADA improvements that won't be done by the landlord. I wasn't sure. I didn't remember that. I think it says that won't be done by the landlord and paid by the district. So just a few changes on that last sentence.
Yeah, good catch. I think that should read that would be done by the landlord and paid by the district.
Okay, so that's. And then this is really a question I don't remember. On page 7, it says that Colin motioned to approve the budget, but earlier it said that Colin left the meeting at 7:10. So I don't know who did what then. And maybe, I don't know.
Hey, it's Laura. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you guys ended up doing that out of order. So he did make the motion and you approved it, and then he left, even though, because I remember when I was typing it up after the meeting that I thought it was on. And
that's all good. I just didn't remember, and when I'm reading it, I'm like, thank God Laura was there, because. So that's good. That's my only comments and questions.
Okay, so then, yes, I do remember that, Suzanne. So that, yes, I think I remember making the motion and then saying I had to leave. Wow, classic Colin.
It's all good.
Thanks for those catches, Suzanne. Diana, any comments or questions on the minutes?
No, Suzanne caught the Mr. part. That's what I was going to change too. But I did remember about the budget and how you approved that and then you had to leave. But we're all good with everything else.
In that case, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
So moved. Seconded by?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Diana. All in favor of the amended minutes? Please say aye or raise your hand. Aye, great, that's unanimous. Fantastic. So we do have New Year budget transfers. And yeah, Kristen, if you don't mind sharing your screen so that we can
No problem.
follow along.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
And it's big enough, or do you want me to make it bigger?
Yes, well, not bigger. I can pinch it out.
You can see it. So
Yes.
a few budget transfers, and these are for the 21-22 new year, school year. At the next meeting, just to clarify, we're going to bring you all the year-end transfers where we do all the cleanup after everything's fully paid out and we clear out any deficits and we move everything into the correct buckets. So that's coming next meeting. But these are things that we felt we should bring now so then we could start the year off in the right place. So the first one is just moving 65,000 from the unemployment bucket to the talent 126 bucket. Unemployment is actually coming in slightly less than we budgeted for originally. And this funding is to convert a temporary position in the HR department to a full-time position for 65,000. The next line item for 38,603 is just, you've seen these before in the special education department. It's moving funding from a 56 district-wide position to that of Wolf Pit because of IEP directives and caseload adjustments. So it's just moving that to the proper project code for reporting purposes. The next line item here is for 85,202. This actually is a budget correction. It was budgeted, as you could see, in the school budgets, but really it should have been the special education budget. It was a PCN that was, we're just correcting the object code here. I mean, the org code here. Doesn't really have any impact. The next line item for 26,000 is moving the funding from instructional supplies at Brian McMahon to cover band instructor salaries. I guess enough, when we went back and looked at it, enough wasn't put in that line item. So we want to start the year off correctly. We're trying to make any adjustments up front before the year even starts, if possible. The next line item is for 18,000 and it's at West Rocks, moving money out of the 150 account into a secretary account. And there were some HR implications on why this position had to move from a 27.5-hour position to a 37.5-hour position. So that's just to fund the differential. The next one has to do with IEP directives and caseload adjustments, moving it from a district-wide account to the row 8 and project line for a paraeducator. The next one is shifting special education district-wide funding for 25,000 to the project search account. So really it's just the project numbers. So for reporting purposes, it can be shown in the right location. And the project search program is going to be or a piece of it's going to be located in within Norwalk Hospital. The next one is to reallocate funding from a reading specialist vacancy at Brian McMahon /CGS to a school counselor vacancy. They didn't fill this role, so we shut this down and we opened up a new role. They felt that the guidance role, the school counselor role, would be more appropriate. And then the last giant budget transfer here, as you can see, is 6921403. I don't know if anyone remembers that number, but it was the number that was used to reconcile the 21-22 budget. And it was the funding that where expenditures will be paid within the ESSER 3 grant. So this is the detail of everything that would move out of the local budget. We had this as a plug item, a negative item to balance the budget. And this is us just moving that funding to taking out of the appropriate categories to zero out and offset that 150 account. So I don't know if you want me to go through this in detail, but in summary, some of the items have to do with summer school security, summer school certified hourly, nursing, transportation, aides, nurses. We picked a chunk of the social worker salary and benefits, as well as the school counselor salary and benefits to offset that. And these are all appropriate items that can be paid in the ESSER 3 grant. The ESSER 3 grant in total will be talked about, I don't know if it's at the next finance committee meeting or the board meeting. So as some of those grants are being finalized and written very shortly, we will bring that back to you with more detail on how it was submitted. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, and I appreciate it being shown this way, Kristen, because it really does show about the cliff we're talking about. These are
Yep.
such necessary folks that it's not like when this ESSER money goes away, their positions are still going to have to be funded. It's so I really appreciate the level of detail, and clearly it's under what ESSER 3 money was meant, what could be used for clearly, but it also shows that we're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul here. So I appreciate the level of detail.
Correct. And this does definitely relate to the financial cliff that will be talked about shortly in future meetings.
Yeah.
That the whole robbing Peter to pay Paul thing, I think is appropriate way of describing this, because clearly when we think about these social worker salaries, school counselor salaries, the kind of added supports that we get through summer school and the summer academy, those are completely appropriate to be used for ESSER funding. But those needs aren't going to go away, right? And it's certainly not unreasonable to suspect that those needs may be exacerbated because of some of the flux that still hangs over the fall and this coming school year. So, I just think it's important for all people who are looking, and who are kind of thinking about this, to realize that these aren't one-time needs, and it's almost impossible to think of them as one-time needs. These are.
Plus, it's not even that these are additional positions for this time. These are maintaining the positions we had. So to your point, Colin, that it's going to be exacerbated is probably true, because there's no additional support, knowing that kids are coming back with bigger issues. That's been ignored by not having the budget increase. This is just keeping us at status quo. So when you put positions to the money, it makes it, we've been worried about and talked about all along. So I appreciate seeing it like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's right.
Right. Like you said, Suzanne, I think the bigger picture here is showing the public, and this is the way it's being shown, and the way that it was put together for us, and the stability or instability of the finances and not being supported, and these positions that are needed now. If anything, we need more positions because of everything that the children have been through during this pandemic, and we're not going to be able to get those extra programs and staff to help them. So these are not going to go away. These are our staff that have always been on the payroll. And unfortunately, with everything that's happening and the no funding for the Board of Ed, I mean, we are not going to have this moving forward. And there's a lot of things that we need to discuss moving forward, but at least that the public can see this.
Well, again, I think this is, we've been talking about this, it's now we can see it on paper, or at least on screen. Kristen, do we need to advance this to the full board?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so then if there are no further questions or discussion, is there a motion to advance these transfers to the full board?
So move.
Aye.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All in favor of advancing, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. And good. So that really kind of gives some detail to the budget we passed for the 21-22 school year, so we can see exactly what that SO3 funding looks like in actual practice.
And like I was saying, in future meetings coming up soon, we'll talk more about ESSER 1, 2, and 3, where we're going with ESSER 3 once the grant's written, and really a 3-year projection and how the financial cliff will show you the exact numbers and why it is going to be a problem sooner than later. Okay. Should we move to the carryover and the year-end projections?
Yes, thank you.
So the carryover, there's a lot of detail here. I'm not going to go through all of the detail unless anyone has any particular questions, but I'll just show you how to read this. We've paid most of our bills that we've gotten. We don't pay bills until we receive the goods. So we try to receive all the goods, get the receiving copies that we did receive these goods. We pay the invoices. We try to do all that by June 30th. Obviously, with a normal year, especially a pandemic year, a lot of items are on back order, or there's delays because of chip shortages or furniture or other things, if you will. You can see, some of the materials, things are on back order. So we either haven't paid the bills or we paid them after June 30th. We have cutoff deadlines for accounting purposes, and everything on this carryover list are items that we encumbered or had a purchase order for prior to June 30th. So what this list shows is we've encumbered the funding. We would like to have this money carried into the following year for encumbered items. And we just list this and it's brought to the BET in a few months to get this approved. But how you read this: vendor name, number, org code, object, project, the PO numbers, these are all encumbrances, the amount of the encumbrance, and the item description. So you could, I don't know if you want me to go through it in detail or just this will be posted if anybody wants to take a look at it. The list is pretty long because things are on back order. They're mostly, as you could see, supplies and furniture and technology. And it's typically the same vendors. All of this listing here adds up to, sorry, that's why I don't think you want me to go through every detail right now, $3,559,621. So what we ask, we've already encumbered this. We just want the approval to pay this so we're not using New Year funding to pay these bills that haven't come in yet or we haven't received the goods yet. We also have on the carryover list an accrual for unsettled labor contracts for $100,326. We also have accruals for retirement payments. These are people who retired in the 2021 school year and they elected to have a portion of their retirement payment, their severance payment, paid out in January 2022. So since it goes into the new year, we need to put that money aside and not use New Year funding for that, and that adds up to $60,502. All of this together is $3,724,49. With that, based on everything we've paid out and all of these accruals and money we would like to keep on the carryover list, what's available to be requested under CGS 10-248A in a non-lapsing fund, or the Fund 42 carryover fund, is $301,434. So pretty much our budgeting and everything we've put through, 300,000 is a rounding error on the size of our budget on a $208 million budget. What we can, the maximum amount we could have carried over under this regulation, or 2%, was $4 million. We're only asking potentially, or we have the potential to ask for $301,000 if that's what's decided.
It's almost like, why bother asking?
Yeah, 300,000. So
Impressive.
Clearly we'll take it, but wow, that is very, very close. Wow.
Impressive.
does anyone have any question on year end or the carryover?
Kirsten, it sounds like a lot of the encumbrances are typical. This is how we pay. Like I said, we don't pay until the goods or services have been received. Is there anything that's here on this list? And I certainly don't want to ask you to go through the entire thing, but anything here that was atypical or that was unusual?
Let's see if there's any. There's some curriculum materials that were ordered. That's probably the bulk of this, probably 2.5 million. If we added that up, is related to curriculum materials that
Mhm.
just haven't been received yet. So for example, McGraw reading materials, that's 1 million right there. Language training, 242. Great Minds, Geodes curriculum, 433. So you could see the bigger items are curriculum related. And I think those all add up. If you added all the smaller pieces up, it's around 2.5 million of that. So I don't think there's anything that's not in the normal course. And then just supplies and furniture.
And I imagine we may be feeling some of the supply chain delays that everybody else in the world is experiencing.
Correct. I mean, you see some bigger furniture orders here. A lot of these are smaller. Yeah, there's nothing else. I mean, the curriculum materials are the biggest piece of it. We don't pay
Well-
bills. We're pretty strict on it. We have to receive the goods in full before we cut the check.
I think that's fair. I just want to echo Suzanne. I think it's impressive. I mean, this is down to the wire accounting. If we need board approval to ask for that $300,000 carryover, I'm happy to recommend it. Any other questions or comments, Suzanne or Diana?
No,
Okay. Shall we motion this to the full board, Kristen?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
So moved.
Thank you, Suzanne.
second.
Thank you, Diana. All in favor? I didn't hear you, Diana, but I think you're in favor because you seconded
Yes, I.
it. Thank you. All right. Excellent. Yeah, it's such an interesting look at how we're starting the year and how this new year and how we ended this last year. So I think it's a big picture, but very helpful. So I appreciate it, Kristen. Thank you so much. Looking at what's next on the agenda, we did not receive any public comments via email. And I just want to check, Roland, is there anybody logged on to Zoom that we can't see?
Hold on a moment, I'll check.
Okay.
Nope. I don't see anyone out there other than us.
Then that will take us to the next item on the agenda, which is the adjournment. Like I said, short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
So if I have a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Suzanne, all in
Second.
favor? Excellent.
Thank
Then
you.
I will
And
thank
thank
you all.
you.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you so much, Kristen, for this presentation. It's very helpful.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you for the detail, Kristen. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a